Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about The Exorcist Believer. This movie came out in 2023 and I'm just now watching it. One of the reasons is because I'm just not a huge Exorcist fan. Like, the only ones I've ever seen is the first movie and the television show. I don't know if I attempted to watch the second movie or not, but like I've said this before when I reviewed the first one, I just wasn't a fan of it. I don't understand the hype. Like, it was just way too much talking for me and stuff and setup. The only parts I liked was the demonic stuff and the exorcism stuff. That was like the gold of the movie, but it takes a very long time just to get to that good stuff and everything. So I just really wasn't feeling it. And so and when it came to that of the television series, I said I really enjoyed season 1. But season 2 kind of fell a little flat with the whole family and stuff. But the thing I liked about season 2 was that it set up this synopsis of bishops within the Vatican and religious figures that are very high up are being infiltrated by that of people who are under demonic possession and stuff, and they're taking over the Holy Church. That was something really interesting, a twist I did not really see coming. I mean, they foreshadowed it a little bit in the first season, but I really wasn't thinking they were going to go there in season 2, and that's something that is totally different in this franchise that really needs some refreshing and stuff. Because how many times are you going to see somebody, a normal person, get possessed, and then all of a sudden they need an exorcist to get rid of the bad juju and stuff like that, you know? Get rid of the heebie-jeebies and stuff. And so, and then when it comes to the first season, I really love that huge twist. You go through the course of the show with this family. The daughter's possessed by a demon. It's the same demon from the first movie. And lo and behold, the mother is actually really Reagan. It's just she changed her name and stuff. And she's played by a different actress. Huge twist, mind blown. That was just awesome. And even the mom shows up and they recreate that famous poster of the exorcist just standing there in silhouette with the briefcase and the hat, but it's not a real, it's like the mom and everything. Love that. And I've never seen none of the movies and stuff, but I decided to check this one out because it was on Stars, and I had Stars for a point in time, so I'm like, you know what, I might as well watch it. Why not? You know what I'm saying? And so I did. And for the most part, I think it's just an okay kind of movie. It didn't really hit me over the head with anything. It seems kind of generic, but basically flat. But it's not as terrible as people said it is. It's just not all that interesting. They do intrigue me a little here and there, but this feels like a very rushed script. It feels like it's very incomplete. And there was so much more they could have done with this. In fact, they planned to have a trilogy and everything. But because this movie underperformed and everything, and critics didn't really like it, and it had mixed reviews, they just scrapped the entire thing. Instead of scraps, that's the thing about Hollywood I'm not liking right now. You have one failure and they're like, all right, we're done. Let's just move on to something else. It's like, no, find out what went wrong and fix it in the sequel and everything. That's how movies of back in the day used to be. But Hollywood is too scared to take chances and stuff nowadays. And so this is a direct sequel to that of the first movie. I'm not sure if they ignore all the other movies that came after, but I know for a fact this does come after that of the first. And I remember they tried to get they was really banking on getting Chris back in like the movie. That was like the big selling point. They're bringing the mother back. Ellen Burst Burston. They was really trying to get her back, and they did. They must have gave her a lot of money because she barely does anything in like the movie. But one of the things that always irked a lot of people was that Linda Blair, who played Reagan, was supposedly not in the movie. In fact, she said they didn't even contact her. Well, lo and behold, at the very end of the movie, there she is in a cameo, and a cameo only. I mean, come on, man. This is The Exorcist. You want to see Linda Blair. If anybody's going to help, like, these little girls, why not let it be Reagan? You know what I'm saying? Why they decided to go this route, I have no idea. Now, the movie itself is like, directed by David Gordon Green. And the screenplay is by him and Peter Sattler. And so, trying to think. This is actually a Blumhouse movie of all things. Blumhouse can be hit or miss here and there. And so Jason Blum, he produced this movie along with that of Universal Pictures and stuff. And so it was at a budget of 30 million and it only made 137 million. Not very good and stuff. Now the movie stars one actor I recognize, Leslie Odom Jr. I remember him from Person of Interest. I used to watch that show. And also he was in Hamilton, but I never watched that. Everybody else, I have no idea who they are. And so going into this movie, I know that, they were going to perform an exorcist on two little girls. I thought to myself, okay, that's like really interesting. That's really intriguing. I don't think it's ever been done in any of the other exorcist movies and stuff. And all the wannabe exorcist movies and stuff. Like they've never done it's two innocent little girls and, they having to they're under demonic possession, or this time the devil and everything. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, how are they going to mess this up? Well, like I said before, it's a little bit of a rush script. And there are some elements in here where it's kind of like, after watching the movie as a whole, having two girls under devil demonic possession probably wasn't the best idea. Because with one girl, she got more character development and screen time. Her dad and her got more character development and screen time, whereas the other little girl and her parents barely got any. And so it's kind of like, okay, when you focus on one child and everything and one family member, that's who the movie should have followed throughout the entire movie. If you're not going to really explore the other family, what's really the point of them being there? Why should I care? And they're underdeveloped. Another problem I had with this movie was that the two little girls, it would have been nice to see them interact more other than just that one time in the beginning of the movie where they're outside playing with the candle and just goofing around. Their friendship felt forced. I'm not necessarily saying they don't have chemistry. It's just we don't know because there's not much of a buildup. So it's just kind of like this only interaction they really have. They're constantly goobering over each other and stuff. And it's just kind of it would have been nice to see them interact more, talk to each other, see what their likes and dislikes are. That's where the movie falters in one point. Another way this movie falters is that you have three completely different religions in this movie. And it's kind of like, yo, just pick one. You have voodoo, you have traditional Christianity, and then you have Catholicism and stuff. And it's kind of like, why is there three? So they have these three religions that are converging to get rid of this devilish type thing. And it's really, why not just pick one, Because I don't know what the early drafts of this movie is, but I'll tell you this right here, right now. there is that twist at the end with the whole you have to pick one girl and then the other girl will die type thing, which was really that should have been built up a whole lot more. That should have been way more dramatic than what it was. And it wasn't built up that much because it was kind of like a rush thing where they had to like pick really fast. And so because of that, they picked one girl or the other. Now they picked, okay, so the two girls, one's black, one's white, right? And I do wonder how people felt about that. Pinning a black family against a white family, and the white father is the one who's like, okay, you gotta pick one. Well, I picked my daughter and everything. But then the devil tricked him, and it's like, oh, okay, whoever is selfish and picked their child, the other child gets to live and your child dies. I do wonder how people felt about that, knowing that the black girl lived and the white girl died. There probably was some tension with that, especially with the anti-woke mob and everything. If I was the writer or director, I would have never done that because I didn't want to like stir up any type of race relations or wars or anything like that. I would have had this movie focus either on one of the girls, but if I would have done both girls, then they both would have been like the same race. Plain and simple, so there wouldn't be no type of confusion with that. However, back to like the religious thing, because the movie focuses more on the black family, like we find out that the husband lost his wife, like they was in like an African country. This voodoo priest was like blessing like the mother and child. Then something happens, the building collapses, it traps the mother. The father is like, given a choice, do you pick the wife or do you pick the unborn baby? We don't know his decision, but about 10, 13 years later, we see that his daughter is alive and is a teenager, or not a preteen and everything. And so you assume that like he chose the child, but under demonic possession, the child reveals, you picked my mom to live. You didn't want me to live and everything. You picked her. And that was kind of like, ooh, big twist. You know what I'm saying? And it makes sense. I mean, come on, if you're the husband and you have a wife and you have this unborn child who you don't know, most likely you're going to pick the person you're in love with, which is going to be your wife. So that should have been explored a heck of a lot more too. Like to where he felt so much guilt and pain because of that, but he kind of really doesn't. But back to the religious thing, because I'm going off topic again. If they were going to focus on the black family a whole lot more and introduce voodoo, then why not do something completely different? Like I said before, I don't know the original draft, but like it makes you wonder if the movie was supposed to focus on the black family and the black family only, and voodoo being the religion that's supposed to drive the devil out, only for like executives in the studio to get kind of scared, be all like, voodoo's not really a thing when it comes to the exorcist movies, and it's more about Catholicism and like a priest and everything. And we probably should go back to tradition. And if you notice, when you look at the little white girl, she kind of looks like Reagan when Reagan was little a little bit, especially when she's in demonic possession. And I do wonder if at the last minute or a change of script, they're kind of like, hey, let's add in this family and find somebody who looks a little bit like Linda Blair and bring in a traditional priest and blah, 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 blah. I do wonder if changes like that were made, because I think this would have, like, if you would have kept it just the black family and the voodoo priestess was the one who had to drive the devil out, that is something completely different that has never been done in this franchise before. It would have been different, it would have been unique, it would have been fresh, and it would have been an eye-opener. Because I've told you this before when I reviewed Cloak and Dagger. I was shocked and surprised to find out that voodoo is actually an African religion. And it's not evil whatsoever. It's only like because of like white Hollywood that they portray voodoo as being something demonic and evil and devilish. Ever since like the beginning of time when movies were made in America, in Europe, like England and stuff like that, you always saw voodoo being portrayed as something evil. And so I was really shocked to find out that voodoo actually isn't evil, that is actually a religion. But Hollywood wants people to believe it's the most evilest type of religion out there. Why? I truly believe, because like I said before, these was made back in the old days, 1920s, 1930s, 40s and stuff. Like these older movies with voodoo, we gotta remember back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s and stuff, white people hated black people. So, of course, when you rob black folks from their homeland, bring them into your homeland, and you integrate them into your society by stripping away their identity and forcing them to live out your identity and everything, of course, you don't want two religions competing with one another. And since Hollywood and white people wanted everybody to hate black people, what way to hate black people more and then to hate their religion and say it's demonic and it is evil? Because every portrayal of like voodoo is always evil. It's only recently, in recent times, it's been portrayed being good and everything. And so I think this would have made the movie a heck of a lot more interesting if they would have explored that angle of it and stuff. Because everything else was just traditional exorcism like type stuff. Now, another problem I had with the movie was there really wasn't that much good, that much good like juicy, like exorcism type stuff. Like one of the perks that I really enjoyed about the first movie, or really the only thing, was seeing Reagan under demonic possession. Seeing her throw up, seeing her skin turn green, seeing her act like she don't know what's going on, but she really does because she's under possession. Floating up in the air. The deleted scene of her walking like a crab and everything. The twisting of like the head. And then the other part I like about the original movie was like the priests and everything, doing the exorcism. Them like, saying all this holy stuff and throwing holy water and holding up the cross. And that's the good stuff you go to see when you want to see something about the exorcism and stuff. It happened in Hercules' Legendary Journey. It happened in the exorcism movies. It even happened in the television series. The season 1 of television show, like it doesn't get that much praise. It really should. Season 1 was really, really good. It just sucks that season 2 was a letdown and everything. And so this movie actually is very tamed. It doesn't do that much and everything. You see one image of her floating up in the air, which was really cool, but that's about it. There's no throwing up. The girl head doesn't twist around, but she twists another guy, one of the priests, like head around and stuff like that. Because really, like I said before, why was there 3 religions in here? I truly believe they tried to go old school and bring in that priest who said, oh, the Catholic Church said they don't want to do this. So he's just sitting in his car acting like a little warrior and everything and praying. But then all of a sudden here he comes and then snaps his neck and everything. And it's just kind of like they're trying to go back to kind of like that original when the priest kind of like fell down those steps because the demonic thing was inside him and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like there wasn't enough of that good juicy stuff that people go to see an exorcism movie. I don't know why it was so tamed and everything, but it just really, really, really was. And I see why it was a big letdown and stuff. Because if they would have had more of that and a stronger, tighter story, I think it would have done a heck of a lot better and stuff. But, that's just my take on this movie. That's one of the reasons why I put it off for so long. Because I kind of felt like if the hardcore fans didn't like it, I know a casual fan like myself probably wasn't going to like it. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.